Welcome to the Entrepreneur Circle with your host, Dr. Eve Angel Savage. We're welcoming to the forum today the lovely Dr. Roshawna Novellus. She's referred to as the Wealthy Yogi. She's a finance expert, author, investor, and yoga enthusiast on a mission to help people achieve their goals through wealth building, entrepreneurship, and staying balanced while juggling it all. She has used financial strategy and consulting with everyone from entrepreneurs and medium to large-sized companies looking to expand to professionals who want to go beyond just surviving to creating a debt-free, wealthy life they enjoy. To that driven, ambitious, innovative entrepreneur, you are in for a treat as we glean from the lovely Dr. Roshawna Novellus. Welcome to the forum, Dr. Novellus.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's just talk a little bit about your background and about what led you from corporate to entrepreneurship as an expert in the industry.
Well, I've always loved solving problems. So I started out as an entrepreneur and went from the research arena to the risk analyst arena and found out that not only governments and large businesses have ongoing problems that they need to solve, but I found out that many of my coworkers were stressed out about money. Even though they made more and more money and had raises and bonuses year after year, they still were not balanced in terms of their lifestyle, and they didn't have the education to know how to allocate their monies so that they can garner wealth. When I moved to Atlanta 5 years ago, I decided to start volunteering with the IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And that program is geared towards not only preparing taxes for low to medium income individuals, it also has a financial literacy aspect. And I realized that there are so many people out there that are burdened and stressed out because of their fear of money and their lack of knowledge about money. So because of all of these reasons, I decided to start my own firm with those goals in mind.
Well, we are just excited to learn more, and you have an awesome background. Tell us why, discuss with us the importance of budgeting for the entrepreneur in more specifically.
Well, everyone needs a budget, especially an entrepreneur. Unlike people that have traditional income, the entrepreneur's income can be cyclical or seasonal or have erratic kind of ebbs and flows. So it's easy for an entrepreneur to overspend their revenue. And once you start getting in those habits, it's really difficult to get out of those habits. So an entrepreneur really needs to be comfortable with forecasting, to know when they're going to do their marketing campaigns or when do they expect sales revenue to peak so that they can manage their business and stay in business. Most entrepreneurs actually fail because they have no relationship with their money. In addition, I believe that entrepreneurs should stay on top of their money so that they make decisions more appropriately. And for example, if an entrepreneur spends a lot of money on a specific marketing campaign or marketing strategy, but that yields no revenue, then it's not a great allocation of their money, right? So if they have a budget and know what their return on investment and they keep top of their other key metrics, they can actually optimize their budget so that they have the maximum revenue as possible with their business. So having a budget not only helps the entrepreneur actually stay in business, which is the goal, but it also gives the entrepreneur key insights on which activities lead to revenue generation and which activities can help grow their business in the quickest way.
I often test my products on a marketing campaign, driven marketing campaign, to check for the ROI. What are some recommendations that you would have for the entrepreneur to utilize free options of marketing or social marketing to avoid even having to tap into a budget to see if it worked prior to utilizing those revenues?
Well, nothing in life is actually free. So even if you don't actually pay for a service, you still have to allocate your time to create the strategy, execute, do all of the follow-up. So there's always a commitment. So that needs to be computed and part of the strategy, because often new entrepreneurs don't put any value on their time, right? And that's not true. So everything has an opportunity cost. That being said, starting off, it's really great to go to networking events, form as many joint venture partners or referral sources as possible, and have a consistent social media presence. So all of those things can be done without paying for subscription or service fees or maybe even design fees. However, all entrepreneurs should actually put a value on their time and use that when they're figuring out their budget for a project.
I like that. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I hadn't even considered that. I usually consider in-kind when I think of nonprofit, but I never thought about that from a for-profit venture, that we should probably be using those same concepts to draw upon some idea of what it's going to cost us. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Right. So as entrepreneurs, we are very resourceful individuals. So we can wear many hats. And I read something recently that entrepreneurs wear about 13 hats when running their business. However, you may easily be able to outsource certain activities or get help in certain ways. An easy way to determine if that's beneficial for you is to put in a value for your time. Say, for instance, your time is worth $500 an hour, right? And you can find someone to run your social media campaign for $50 an hour. Maybe it's worth it in that case to pay someone to do it for you, right? So when you're looking at your time, you generally separate your time into a couple key areas. One, business generation. The other, the actual operations of your business. So that includes any kind of client work, execution, that whole thing, and then the customer service piece, right? So you can look at and divide your time in terms of how you're personally allocating your time based on how much your time is worth, right, and the opportunity cost and the ease of doing it. In the personal realm, if you're not an entrepreneur, a common example of this is cleaning your home. So this is a skill that almost everyone should have. Almost everyone should have the ability to keep their living space clean and tidy. However, if you could use that, let's say, one additional hour per week to generate new business, right? Say that you spent that 1 hour going to a networking event and you're able to get, let's say, one client that paid you $5,000. Would it be better to spend the 1 hour going to the event or spend, whatever amount of money paying someone to clean your place? So
thank you for that. That was great. Go ahead.
Right. Oh, that was it.
Yeah, that was a great analogy to segue into the personal side as well of the entrepreneur as well, because that's significant. I would probably opt to pay someone to clean the home and go after the high-paying client from that perspective.
Right.
Okay, so So give us a couple of the common problems that, well, I guess in all actuality, you just really listed those. What are some fundamental basics that entrepreneurs must concern themselves with?
Number one, entrepreneurs need to know for a fact who's paying them, right? A lot of entrepreneurs kind of go over their key demographic or don't think that's very important, but if they're not generating revenue, they don't have a business. So that's the number one. Know who's paying you and the timeline and what you need to do to make the revenue flow to you.
Right.
And then stay on top of. And from that, they need to figure out their business development strategy and then manage their finances. And one additional thing that I didn't really know or put as much emphasis on as I should have when I started my business is the importance of marketing. It's really true that 80% of your effort should be on the marketing business development side of things, and only 20% should be on everything else.
Exactly, because that's where your leads come from, and your leads are your conversions.
Right.
So that's going to make us our revenue. Something I do is I use a concept map to begin to look at what's available, what are my potential financial arms or business arms where I could gain and kind of strategize how much of this I might need by first defining what is my goal, how much do I want to make, and what do I need to do to get there. And so by using a concept map, that kind of helps me to identify, where I could make money, literally, where I could make streams of income to get to that goal. And it's not until we really, really sit down and identify the concept map and how we're going to generate it will we determine how much of this or how much of that we need to do strategically. And I found that to be very, very helpful with my clients, and I'm hoping that my audience will tune into that. Would you agree that that's something that is needed?
I agree 150%. A lot of entrepreneurs start on the other side of the spectrum, and they say, I can charge people, let's say, $100 for my widget. Well, they don't know if the profit or the sales for that widget is going to support their goals for their lifestyle, right? So as you mentioned, you need to start with your goals and lifestyle in mind and then figure out from there what you should be doing. For instance, say you're a person that doesn't like to interact with a lot of other people. You rather stay behind the scenes and to generate income. So if your business requires you going on sales calls all day, that might not be a good fit for your personality and your revenue goals, right? So you need to start with your revenue goals, your lifestyle goals, your personality, having an honest understanding of who you are, and then from that, populate the rest of the steps and strategies to get there, like you mentioned.
I like that. An honest acceptance of who you are and how you can make that money.
Right.
An honest, perspective on your personality. Okay.
Yes.
So what tools do you use to help you in looking at the financial picture?
I love a lot of different tools. I personally recommend Wave. It has a free offering to generate your profit and loss statements and balance sheets, and it automatically connects to all of your accounts. So I constantly update that and look at that, the reports generated to monitor my business finances. But beyond that, I use several different tools to optimize my time, such as Hootsuite for social media. I use Contactually for my CRM software. And there's a couple other tools that I use to help with the operations and some of the management side of the company. Oh, I neglected to mention I use FreshBooks for invoicing. One thing that I love about it, it automatically reminds people, hey, it's time for you to pay your invoice, or if people are on automatic payment, it does all that automatically. So it's very important to have your payment systems together, your reporting systems together, and then to automate as much as possible when you run your business.
Exactly. I've been using PayPal, but they take, they have an excise fee. And you said you use what kind of software for your invoicing?
Well, I use FreshBooks, and what FreshBooks does is interface with whatever merchant processor that you use. So it does have an interface with PayPal if you decide to use PayPal or Stripe, or they have interfaces with 60 different providers. But what it does, it will send a beautiful invoice to the client. It will remind them to pay. It has a lot of features that make sure that you actually get your payment. But it will use their whatever payment gateway that you are registered with to actually extract the funds.
Right.
But you do mention another important aspect to consider. You need to look at those fees. So PayPal is usually a good option if you're making less than $4,000 per month through credit card transaction fees. If you have revenue that exceeds that, it's usually better to either go to one of their premium plans or use someone else, because you can get a lot better rates than what PayPal offers. And that's something that a lot of companies don't even pay attention to, but there's a huge range in terms of payment processing fees, and depending on your revenue volume, you're paying a lot of money to PayPal when that could be in your own pocket. So a really important So an important point is to look at your automatic transactions, look at your service providers, and calculate what they're making off of you.
Right.
And make sure it's worth it.
Right. I'm going to do some homework.
Right.
So provide for us, because I'm sure you have some real-life examples of other people that you have consulted with that are using your services and following your advice and have succeeded as a result of that.
Right. So I'll give a couple examples. One couple is in entertainment, and they have over 40 different income streams per year in terms of royalties, new opportunities in terms of being in TV shows, commercials, and what have you. Before me, they had just I would say a suitcase full of all this stuff, all the statements and finances, and they were just all over the place. So I was able to help them not only get their taxes up to a compliant status, but give them a framework in terms of how to manage their finances, being that industry is so volatile. So that is one success story in terms of the budget, financial management, and the tax strategy. On the business consulting side, I advise startup companies that need to raise between like $500,000 plus and I help them get ready to attract funding. So I've been working with a couple businesses that through the process and helping them become familiar with their financials, helping them have create a picture that investors want to see so that they can be successful and move forward.
Excellent, excellent. Tell us about this great book that you have also out that we can where we can purchase it, what it's all about, and how we can get that book.
Okay, I recently published Budgeting is More Liberation Than Limitation, and that title comes from the sense that we all can craft the life that we desire, right? And our money should reflect our life goals and our life dreams. A lot of times when we hear the word budget, we feel that a budget will constrain our life. But no, that's the wrong perception. What we should do is make sure that we spend money in alignment with what makes us feel free, makes us feel liberated, makes us feel that life is worthwhile. So if we love to travel, we should have a significant portion of our budget towards traveling. If we enjoy going to improv shows or looking at classic cars or whatever that makes you happy, your budget needs to be in alignment with that perspective. So the book,
I like that.
Right. So the book illustrates through several examples and shows people how to have the right perspective in place prior to making their budget. And beyond that, with my whole wealthy yogi mindset and personality, I feel that all financial decisions should be made from a place of peace, calm, and contentment, right? You shouldn't make financial decisions when you're trying to compare yourself to the Joneses or you're stressed or you have all this anxiety. You should make it from a place of peace and calm. And at that point, you know what you really want, and you're able to think clearly and make your budget work for you.
Right. That's awesome. I need that book on my shelf, it sounds like. It sounds like a great resource. What sort of things can people do to stay on top of those finances, aside from purchasing this great – you didn't tell us where we could get the book. Where can we
You can purchase the book directly from me on my website, thewealthyyogi.com. Other than that, you can find it on Amazon.
Okay, great. Give us the title once again and your website.
It's thewealthyyogi.com.
Okay.
And it's also available on Amazon. And the name is Budgeting is More Liberation Than Limitation.
All right. Now tell us about the changes to your industry that you find hopeful.
Well, I believe that people do have a renowned sense that finances are important. I know that it's been harder than in years past due to recession, and new college grads often are thrust into entrepreneurship much earlier than people in previous generations. So they're realizing that they have to manage their money to stay successful and get the things that they want out of life. So with that being in mind, it's great for people to reach out to gain the knowledge that they need and know that managing finances is essential for success.
You mentioned a great point about college students being thrust into the world of entrepreneurship early. Why do you think that is?
Well, large companies have had to restructure to stay lean and stay flexible and move with the time. As a result, companies don't have a long-term strategy anymore, right? And not only that, just how quickly everything's changing these days.
Right.
On all of that affects how we interact with each other, our sense of loyalty, our sense of attachment to certain ideals or ways we want to structure our lives. Like, we feel more free. We feel more open. We're actually more comfortable with change than we used to be. I just read something recently, like the average young person stays in an industry or a job for only 3 years now.
That's correct.
And that's come down dramatically. So
I kind of sort of like that spirit, though. I kind of sort of like the spirit that they have of adventure and risk, and that they're taking, that they realize that there's more of a benefit in moving in the direction of following their passion, instead of we all go to school, we get these degrees, and oftentimes we're not even working in the industries where we received our degrees, because somehow we were pushed in that direction for that type of major, but it inevitably led us to some greater cause or solution for the greater good, because we found that there was a need within our own studies. We found that there was a need to do something. So what we inevitably have is we find ourselves moving into a solution-based lifestyle of entrepreneurship to make a difference. That's where I think this is truly headed. And I like the risk that they're taking. So, and then, with the downsizing of companies now, they're outsourcing so much that there's so much opportunity for a great idea to go really big, really fast if you use the right tools. And so I think that what you're sharing with us and with the information we've received today is excellent, in an excellent foundation of what needs to happen when we decide to move forward with a great idea. What's on the horizon for you in 2016?
Well, I look forward to having my first Wealthy Yogi retreat. So in that retreat, I will talk about finances, entrepreneurship, and also we'll have great fitness. So we'll have yoga classes and meditation, and I look forward to bridging all that together for in a retreat format.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And in addition, I'm looking for more companies to mentor and help raise the capital that they need so that they can realize their dreams. So both of those things are really exciting for me for 2016. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us inside the Entrepreneurial Circle. We're talking to Dr. Roshawna Novellus, and she's also the former fellow of the Gates Foundation. Is that correct?
Yes, I was in the inaugural class, and I won a full scholarship to pay for my undergraduate degrees, my master's degrees, and my doctorate. So very great.
And that was an amazing finding right there. So I said, I just have to have Dr. Novellus. Thank you again for joining us on the Inside of the Entrepreneurial Circle. This is your host, Dr. Eve Angel Savage, where we thrive with that sapphire and amber pride. For now, we're signing off.